Welcome to the first episode of the Yankees Hot Stove podcast from NYY Recaps. On this episode of the podcast, Derek is joined by Patrick Hennessy of UnhingedNewYork.com to discuss the potential of Trevor Bauer signing with the Yankees. Let's get started.
All right, so here's the big question, Patrick. Trevor Bauer is a free agent, and the fan base, half the fan base wants him, half the fan base doesn't. Part of me thinks the Yankees might spend because they got so close, and part of me thinks they might be cheap. What do you think?
Going back to our previous conversations, I'm a huge Trevor Bauer guy. My only issue is that I don't think the Yankees will go all out to get this man. Even though if I'm in the Yankees front office, I'm pulling every string possible to get Trevor Bauer in that rotation. Clearly, at least on his side anyway, there's no more animosity with Garrett Cole from college, which is kind of a stupid, overblown thing to begin with. But that's a solidified number two, which the Yankees don't currently have. The argument could be made when Luis Severino comes back. He's that solidified number two, but he's going to be coming back from Tommy John. You don't know what you're going to get out of him. So if the Yankees did have Trevor Bauer in their rotation this postseason, they probably would have cruised past Tampa because then you're not using J Happ out of the bullpen. So I think the bottom line as far as Bauer goes is I would love him, but I don't think the Yankees organization wants him the same amount as I do.
So you took a few of the points that I was planning to make. I guess probably should have coordinated this before, but yeah, I was thinking about the division series, right? And Yankees win game one behind Garrett Cole, the last big free agent they get. And game two, they're starting Davy Garcia, and I'm thinking, all right, Davy might have a good start in him, but then they pull him after one. They throw in their Happ, who couldn't get me out. And that basically cost them the series because they lose that game. They lose the next game. They win game four. Yeah. If you have a horse like Trevor Bauer, you know what Trevor Bauer did in his only playoff start this year?
Dominated.
7 1/3, 7 1/3 shutout innings, 12 strikeouts.
Unbelievable.
12 against the Braves, who are not a shabby offense, by the way.
Better than the Rays.
Oh, yeah. That's why, when people say, I've heard a lot of people shouting from the rooftops that Trevor Bauer's not that good because his ERA was slightly elevated in 2019. Let me go through his stats. 2020, this year, 1.73 ERA. 2019, 4.48 ERA. But if you break that down with Cleveland before he got traded, it was 3.39. And it is not uncommon for guys who get traded midseason to struggle with a new team. He's going to a new city. He's already kind of an awkward socially guy, and he's pitching for, a playoff spot, a little bit of a tough situation for him. And so he doesn't pitch well. Year before that, 2.21 ERA with Cleveland. And then the first few years of his career combined, pre-2018, he had a 4.36. So he's been clearly 2 out of the last 3 years has been lights out. Lights out.
Yep.
And there's rumors that he might be willing to talk about a 1-year deal. How often does a big-time player even express any interest in a 1-year deal?
Which is huge. I mean, if we're talking about a 1-year deal, I would think that this is something this might be a little bit of a weird comparison, but I would compare that to when Giancarlo Stanton fell into the Yankees' lap. It was just a scenario that just played out so well they couldn't refuse it. I can't see the Yankees denying Trevor Bauer 1 year, $30 million. Right. I couldn't see a scenario taking place where they wouldn't do that 10 times out of 10 times.
I would even go higher on him. The Yankees can blow everybody out of the water because of how much money they have coming off the books. Paxton was like $12 million. Tanaka's $23 million. I don't think they're going to bring Tanaka back. I like him. He's a good pitcher. He's a nice guy, but let's face it, he's on the wrong side of 30 and he can't break a window with his fastball anymore. I feel like, you're getting an opportunity to get that Randy Johnson, Curt Schilling 1-2 punch that you really haven't ever had with the Yankees. When was the last time the Yankees had two of the most dominant? And then, by the way, Luis Severino, we mentioned him earlier, coming back in, let's say, July. He's probably not going to be great his first few times out, but he should be rounding into form by the time the playoffs get there. I'll take any team in the league on with a top 3 of Garrett Cole, Trevor Bauer, and Luis Severino. And just for fun, Davy Garcia or Jordan Montgomery in the number 4 spot. Both those guys pitched well this year.
Clark Schmidt even, if he gets some good innings down in AAA.
Yeah, Clark Schmidt's a guy who I feel like he's got all the potential in the world, but he just needs minor league reps. Like his problem was not his stuff. His stuff was terrific. His problem was repeating his delivery. You saw that his fastball was, sometimes it was spot on when his mechanics were together, but sometimes when he would break open on that front side, he'd miss a lot up and away. He tried to compensate for that by holding on to the curveball a little bit too long, and he would spike that in the dirt. So he was a bit up and down. But if you give him 15 starts in AAA, and he's gonna be a tuned major league ready pitcher.
I agree, 100%.
All right, so let's talk about Garrett Cole and the culture with the Yankees. The Yankees are a bit stuffy. We talked about that last time. They have the facial hair rule thing, and they're very, they don't allow any kind of like hazing or anything like that. They're very anti-bullying, especially since Mel Hall used to bully Bernie Williams. So, Trevor Bauer's a guy who likes to troll people and stuff like that. And he's trolled his teammates in the past. That won't go over well with Cashman. I feel like, this could be a situation where some of his past tendencies might be a little bit of a red flag. But, hey, the guy is aging. He's over 30 now. You got to hope he's maturing, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think we know my take on this as well, but I'm going to expand on it even more than I did last time on this show. The Yankees right now, I think that they're much too corporate than I would like them to be. Like we said, the facial hair policy, that's something that needs to go. The long hair policy, I don't think there's a problem with that, but if you're going to take it with a facial hair policy, let guys grow their hair down to their knees. As long as they're playing well, I don't care what players look like. Let them have an eyebrow ring. Like, I don't really care. But this is just a sign of the times, and I think the Yankees kind of need to adjust to it. As far as the hazing thing goes, I think that's MLB-wide that they kind of banned hazing, because I do remember a few years ago, the Yankees used to haze their rookies every year, and it was even as recent to the point where I'm pretty sure Judge and Gary did it. They put on those baby outfits as the baby bombers when they were rookies. But I think the league itself is getting pretty soft, and the Yankees clubhouse in general, you could say they lack energy, and it's crazy because that's a core that's been together for a while now. So you would think that they would have the energy, you would think that they would have the chemistry, and they don't really. I'm not in the clubhouse, but it just doesn't really seem like they have that heart. I don't want to say heart, but
they're missing Didi Gregorius.
Yeah, I would say that's it. Maybe not Didi Gregorius himself, but a guy like him. And I think I think Trevor Bauer is a personality in the clubhouse that they're desperately missing. They need someone to have fun. They need someone who plays like his hair's on fire every single night. Trevor Bauer is pumping his fist in a game against the Royals in the middle of August. Like, the only other player on the Yankees who I'll see do that is Garrett Cole.
Right. Yeah, I feel like there's a mindset to being a dominant number one ace pitcher. You have to have that edge to you. I mean, look at all of them. Yeah. Randy Johnson was like that. Roger Clemens, Pedro Martinez. They all had that bit of a I don't want to say a mean streak, but that cockiness about them where it's like, okay, I'm better than you. I can strut because I know you can't hit me next time. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like what the Yankees are definitely missing right now, aside from Garrett Cole, who brings that attitude, is just that fun mentality, that guy who's gonna remember that this is a game, and maybe I will pretend to throw the ball over the center field wall because it was my thing. He's a guy who's he realizes it's entertainment, and the fans like that. Clint Frazier is like that. He's a guy, not so much this year because he was kind of focused on doing it on the field. But I feel like once he establishes himself, he's that type of guy where he might, rock the boat a little bit. But to have another ace in the stable with that mentality, I mean, if there's any chance at a 1-year deal, I think you just write him a check for whatever he asked for.
I agree. Going back to what you said about Clint Frazier, honestly, I know when he first came up and in the minor leagues, we saw a different Clint Frazier. I think that Clint Frazier is long gone. I think that the Clint Frazier we saw in 2020, that's the one that's here to stay. I think he was extremely spooked by the New York media, the organization, and he's just really going to keep himself reserved from now on.
That's actually a pretty good read. I have been thinking about that. Like, has he turned the corner where he's just like, they say, a man can't get into the same river twice because it's not the same river and he's not the same man. He entered that river, that portion of his life. He had the troubles. He realized that wasn't that wasn't who he was. And he put in the work. And now he's just like this confident, but in a more of a quiet way type of guy.
Yeah,
But
and that's the Yankee way, the quote unquote Yankee
Yeah.
way that they like to groom their guys in.
But if you go back and watch that bomb he hit off of Tampa Bay, he definitely took his time out of the box, and I like that.
Yeah, I mean they have their moments. I don't want to say that the Yankees are a completely lifeless team,
Right.
but when you incorporate a guy like Trevor Bauer into that clubhouse, I think it changes everything.
Yeah, Tyler Wade seems like he's really fun, but he also isn't very good.
Yeah,
So
that's the
it's like-
problem. You don't have
like,
the production, so
right,
it doesn't really matter.
if you're gonna suck, there's no point in being having a good personality.
Shout out Tyler Wade.
But no, sorry, Tyler. But so let's go through the reasons why they might not do it. If for some reason Bauer is wanting a long-term deal, which he may ask for, his agent has said he's not opposed to a long-term deal. I know that the union has a problem with guys undervaluing themselves. So like if he says I'll take a 1-year $30 million deal, even though he gets offers for 10 year or 8, he won't get 10, but like 8 years, 200 million. The union's gonna have a real hard time with that because it's all about maximizing the value for the other guys in the league and setting a trend. You don't want to set a trend of 1-year deals. So I feel like the union and his agent might kind of back him into that corner of, well, I want to play for a 1-year deal, but maybe I can get an opt-out instead,
Yeah. I mean, as far as the 1-year deal thing goes, I know he actually mentioned this pre-COVID season, but I think even with the COVID season, I think the union will be pretty open to players actually accepting 1-year deals because the money isn't really going to be on the free agent market this year. At least for the mid-tier free agents. I do think guys like Bauer, maybe even Stroman at that point can get some money. But if Bauer takes 1 year, $35 million, I don't think the union will really have a problem with that because then he'll just come back next year and have an even greater potential of getting more years and more money. But speaking of the money, I think that's where the Yankees fumble. We heard rumors that they do want to cut payroll this offseason. So even 1 year, $35 million, I feel like they might consider that too much.
Yeah, a lot of it's going to depend on what they end up paying for DJ LeMahieu and if they're able to sign DJ LeMahieu. If DJ goes somewhere else, which God forbid, I mean, don't put that hex on me.
Knock on wood.
I know, right? But seriously, but if for some reason he ends up somewhere else, you have all this extra money to spend, then maybe you just throw it at Bauer and try and go into run prevention. But I think they're going to sign LeMahieu. They have enough coming off the books that I think they could afford to get both LeMahieu and Trevor Bauer, but that doesn't leave a lot of room for other areas. I know they want to improve the bullpen. There's guys like Brad Hand and Liam Hendricks and Darren O'Day. If I were a betting man, I would bet that they're more likely to spread their money around. Get LeMahieu, get a Hendricks for that bullpen, give you that, extend that bullpen so you can pitch with the Rays. Yeah. And then maybe add, somebody like a Listella, like we talked about, that maybe can replace Tyler Wade and go in there and play not in 162 games, but maybe in 140 games at different positions and give you some left side thump.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. My only thing is, I think now that I'm thinking about it, rather if it's if or in this scenario, I think I'd rather sign a few guys to improve multiple aspects of the team rather than just one Trevor Bauer. Like give me Liam Hendricks, DJ LeMahieu, and Tommy LaStella all for the price of Trevor Bauer. If that's the road we're going down. But I do think the bullpen has to be addressed. My only fear is that the Yankees don't address some key aspects of their team in anticipation of guys coming back next year, or expecting guys who underperformed this year to perform better this year. I hope they don't pass on a guy like Liam Hendricks thinking Adam Ottavino is going to return to form next season, and that's going to be the solution to all problems, because they did the same thing mid-season this year at the deadline, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting situation because the Yankees do bet on their own guys a lot. You see that where they're betting, hey, maybe we don't need to sign a number 2 because we've got Luis Severino coming back. When in reality, the real Luis Severino might not be coming back till the following year. The Yankees do that. They hedge their bets. They bet on their own guys. But with so many areas that you can, just for the cost of money, not having given up any players, where you can improve the roster. And look, it's not like a lot of teams are going to be spending. Everybody got hurt by COVID. The Yankees, they lost more money than any team in baseball, but they already had 10 times as much money as 90% of the teams in baseball. So if they want to, they can spend. And don't let them convince you for a second that they're not going to spend, because a lot of times when they say that, think of 2009. We're not going to sign Mark Teixeira. That's ludicrous. What happens? His price gets into the range where Cashman says, I can make it work. I think.
Do you still view the front office the same way as back then, though? Because I don't. If they say this year we're not signing Trevor Bauer, I think there's no shot they sign Trevor Bauer.
Well, it's it's still Cashman and it's still Hal Steinbrenner, so anything's possible. And he knows that the fans are upset. They both do. They know the fans are upset. No championships for 11 years now. An early exit against a team that had a payroll that was about, a quarter of the Yankees payroll. And basically your biggest stars haven't been on the field for the last 2 years much of the time. Stanton has been a huge – I mean, look, I love what he did in the playoffs, but if we're being honest, like if I'm talking like, on a lie detector, he's been a bit of a disappointment from what I expected.
Sure. Yeah. And that's
but,
mostly because of the injuries.
Right. And Judge is, when he's on the field, one of the best players I've ever seen. But you're seeing people on the message boards and stuff like that talk about maybe we should trade Judge before he becomes a free agent. I don't think that's going to happen, and I wouldn't trade him. But the fact that he's gone from this Mount Rushmore of players to somebody who the fan base is saying, well, maybe we should get rid of him and sign Brantley, who is 37 years old or something.
Love Michael Brantley, by the way.
I do too. I think he'd be the perfect fit, but I mean, they have nowhere to play him. I feel like the Yankees can address a lot of the question marks about their commitment to winning by handing Trevor Bauer a big paycheck. They did that last year with Garrett Cole. You got Tanaka coming off the books. I feel like it legit could happen I'm much more confident than I am about them offering Trevor Bauer a contract than I was about them offering Garrett Cole a record-breaking contract, and they did that. I thought they were going to lowball Garrett Cole for sure.
Really? No, I thought that last offseason they knew Garrett Cole was something they had to get done, especially after missing out on Corbin the year before because they were lowballing him. But I think my main fear for this offseason is that the Yankees are just too conservative. They go out, maybe they sign like James Paxton to a 1-year deal with some incentives, and then they re-sign Brett Gardner, and then they call it an offseason. Because that's kind of what they're setting us up for. They're setting us up for disaster. Just with all the stuff about hearing about payroll and excuses saying that they think that their team is capable of winning a World Series the way it is. I think they're setting us up for disappointment. That's why I'm not getting my hopes up at all this offseason.
Yeah, I feel like they thought they were a lot better team this year than they were. And I feel like they still believe in that team. Um, and look, they had some great moments, and they really came a game 2 pitching performance away from maybe going to the ALCS. And I fully believe they would have beaten the Astros. I don't know if they would have beaten the Dodgers, but I think they would have beaten the Astros. But it does feel kind of like the Yankees have that, we're confident we're good enough. Maybe we don't need to spend. Let's focus on re-signing DJ, and, maybe the fans will be happy if we bring back Brett Gardner, a fan favorite, which give the job.
I still don't understand it.
Give the job to Clint. Call it a day.
Derek, we agree on just about everything.
Hey, we both follow this team. I mean, it's kind of like just reading the tea leaves, man. If you follow this team in and out and you know how they do business, it's kind of hard to come to a different, a different conclusion than what we have. But look, I'm holding out hope that the Yankees will go all in on Trevor Bauer, because I really believe that rotation gets you to the World Series next year.
Yeah.
It's whether they do it or not, I don't know, but we'll see. What's your prediction for where Bauer lands?
Obviously, this is like when I give postseason predictions. I want to say that the Yankees are going to win the World Series every single year. But then I have my realistic prediction, then my dream prediction. So dream prediction, let's say he signs with the Yankees. My realistic prediction, I think he goes to San Diego. Either San Diego or the White Sox. One of those two teams.
San Diego's a sleeper because that's a really good area for him. He's from he's from the West Coast.
It's got Clevenger there.
Good up and coming team. He's friends with Clevenger.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a good. I was also thinking Anaheim. They need pitching. They have the money. They made the offer to Cole that he didn't accept. They have Mike Trout, and you don't want to waste Mike Trout forever. But again, is Trevor Bauer a MAGA hat wearing guy? Is he a Disney guy? And Disney owns the Angels, so maybe not.
Do they?
As far as I understand, they do. They might have sold it. After Angels in the outfield, I think they bought the team.
Oh wow,
that movie.
Learn something new every day.
Yeah. So, all right, my prediction. I'm predicting either the Angels or the White Sox. I also think the White Sox, because he's already pitched in the AL Central. He knows the AL Central. They've got a really good team. I don't think he wants to hit. So we'll see how it goes. But
the only thing that would steer me away from the White Sox would be La Russa. I don't know if he wants to play underneath an older manager.
That's a good point. That's a good. One thing he did say that was interesting was that he wanted to pitch every fourth day. So, I mean, it really depends on if a team is willing to give him that shot. He might take a little bit of a pay. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy that's going to be influenced that much by the union. You know what I mean? He's going to do what he wants to do.
I love that about him. That's why Trevor Bauer is the man. That's the only way to describe him. He's the man.
I think he's a tremendous pitcher, and the Yankees should go all in.
Great for the game.
Oh man, if I were whispering in Cashman's ear, I would say, give him 1 year, give him as much as you can do for 1 year, and let's try and win this thing. Finally,
we should start a GoFundMe for him.
Hilarious. Thanks for joining me here, Patrick.
Of course, Derek. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Appreciate it, man.
If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It helps YouTube suggest this channel to other Yankees fans.